Welcome to Ink 2 Video. We make books into visual stories.
Meet Vardha. Every day, he steps into an open-plan office where multiple conversations overlap, phones ring constantly, and his colleagues compete to see who can generate the most noise. By the time he leaves work, he is completely drained. While his coworkers head out to networking events and crowded happy hours, he craves an empty room and a book. He looks at his own exhaustion and assumes his personality is a defect. During team meetings, Vardha maps out highly strategic, well-researched solutions in his head, but the floor always goes to the people willing to interrupt and talk over each other. He stays silent, and his ideas never make it to the whiteboard. His annual performance reviews all say the exact same thing. Management tells him he needs to come out of his shell and adopt a more aggressive, commanding persona if he ever wants to see a promotion. He is highly capable and intellectually sharp. His career has stalled because his natural disposition is incompatible with a workplace designed exclusively for the loudest voices. Author Susan Cain calls this the extrovert ideal. It is the pervasive cultural belief that the optimal human being, and the ideal leader, is highly gregarious, alpha, and always comfortable in the spotlight. This bias creates what Cain identifies as the new groupthink. Organizations routinely and mistakenly assume that the person speaking with the most volume and confidence is the one who actually holds the best ideas. Vardha eventually picks up Cain's book, Quiet. He reads through the research and recognizes a clear pattern. His preference for silence is a documented biological trait. He realizes there is no single model for professional achievement. Succeeding doesn't require him to force himself into a loud, highly sociable mold. He just needs to understand how his own brain actually works. Neuroscience shows a stark physical difference between introverted and extroverted brains. The distinction lies in how the nervous system processes and reacts to external stimulation. This chart visualizes those differing thresholds. Look at the left side, representing the extroverted brain. Its reward system relies heavily on dopamine hits from social interactions and risks. To feel alert, engaged, and rewarded, it requires massive amounts of external input. Now, compare that to the right side. The introverted nervous system is high reactive. Because it is far more sensitive to external sights and sounds, it reaches peak cognitive performance in environments with much lower stimulation. We can trace this biological sensitivity along a timeline all the way back to early childhood. Infants who are highly reactive to new noises and visual stimuli consistently develop into introverts. As the brain ages into adulthood, it naturally wires itself for cautious, deeply thoughtful behavior to manage that high sensitivity. In practice, dropping two people into a crowded networking event yields entirely opposite physical responses. The extrovert absorbs the chaos and gains energy, while the introvert's internal social battery rapidly drains. This biological optimization favors deep information processing, complex problem-solving, and meticulous, detail-oriented work. Armed with this biological data, Vardha stops trying to fake being loud. Instead, he begins systematically redesigning his daily schedule and controlling his environmental inputs. Knowing he dislikes thinking on his feet during chaotic brainstorms, he leverages his strength in writing. He outlines his top 3 ideas and emails them to his manager well before the meeting even starts. Once he is in the room, he practices active listening. He lets the extroverts talk over each other, waiting deliberately until the initial noise settles. Then, he delivers a single, concise, and highly researched summary that cuts through the confusion. Immediately following that high-stimulation meeting, he schedules a 15-minute solo walk. Susan Cain calls these restorative niches, short blocks of isolated recovery time that allow the high-reactive nervous system to recharge. By setting hard boundaries around his social battery and structuring his environment, Vardha consistently delivers his most valuable insights without hitting cognitive burnout. Over several months, the perception of Vardha shifts. Because his ideas arrive early and are delivered with calm precision, his manager begins relying on him to spot risks that the louder, fast talkers miss. This consistent record of strategic thinking leads to a promotion into a senior role. He leads through soft power, a leadership style built on deep listening, profound empathy, and preparation. It relies on quiet competence rather than charisma. As a senior leader, Varda applies this soft power to team development. Instead of hosting loud group seminars, he mentors younger colleagues through focused one-on-one sessions, creating an environment where they feel safe to share their best work. This leaves a practical question for your own workplace. If you lean toward introversion, what quiet strength, like deep focus or active listening, have you been ignoring? And if you are an extrovert, how are you actively creating space for the introverts around you to share their best ideas? As Susan Cain wrote, introversion is a strength to be harnessed. Solitude and quiet leadership provide the focus necessary for high-level decision-making and thorough, detail-oriented work.
Don't just watch the story. Be part of it. Ink it. Imagine it. Live it with Ink2 Video. Like if it hit you. Subscribe to stay in the story loop. Share it with someone who loves visuals.